Part 1. First Contact. Expanded Narrative. The morning was unusually quiet. Jay Park stood motionless, his hands clasped behind his back, staring through the reinforced glass of the Global Defense Command Center. Outside, the sky looked different. Not blue, not gray, but a strange metallic shade that sent chills down the spines of everyone present. Satellite feeds flickered with massive alien vessels approaching Earth. These weren't the sleek, Hollywood-style spaceships people had imagined. They were brutal, angular machines that looked like they were crafted from pure destruction. Each ship was larger than entire cities, casting massive shadows across continents. Jay had seen countless military simulations, but nothing prepared him for this moment. At 38, he was the youngest commander ever selected for global defense coordination. His team was a mix of military strategists, scientists, and communication experts, all waiting, watching, and preparing for what seemed inevitable. "They're not stopping," whispered Lee, his junior communications officer. Her voice trembled slightly, revealing the fear everyone was trying to suppress. Jay's fingers traced the surface of the command console. He knew humanity's survival didn't depend on massive weapons or advanced technology, but on something more profound: collective human spirit. The alien fleet moved with mathematically perfect precision. Each ship maintained exact distances, their movements synchronized like a deadly dance. Radar systems showed hundreds of vessels, each capable of obliterating entire countries in minutes. Military analysts had predicted total human extinction within 72 hours. But Jay saw something the aliens didn't understand: humanity's unpredictability. In cities across the world, people were preparing differently. In Seoul, families were gathering emergency supplies. In New York, tech companies were rapidly converting their research facilities into emergency communication centers. In Mumbai, engineers were designing makeshift defense mechanisms using whatever technology they could access. This wasn't just a military operation. This was a human response, chaotic, passionate, and fundamentally unscripted. The alien ships began their initial scanning patterns. Massive energy signals swept across continents, attempting to understand human infrastructure. But what they were scanning wasn't just technology. It was generations of human resilience, creativity, and an unexplainable will to survive. Jay remembered his grandmother's stories about surviving wars, famines, and economic collapses. Those stories weren't just memories, they were blueprints of human adaptability. And now, facing an impossible scenario, those lessons would be tested. "Prepare communication protocols," Jay said calmly. "But not military frequencies. Use everything: satellite networks, internet backbones, radio signals. Let them know we're not just waiting." Lee looked confused. Standard military doctrine suggested radio silence during potential invasion scenarios, but Jay wasn't interested in standard protocols. He wanted to send a message that would confuse, challenge, and potentially destabilize the alien strategy. Outside, the first alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere. Their arrival wasn't dramatic like movie scenes. It was coldly systematic. No dramatic music, no heroic speeches. Just pure, calculated invasion. But they didn't know what was coming. Humanity was about to show them that being conquered wasn't an option. The room buzzed with controlled tension. Screens displayed global communication networks lighting up. Military. Bases worldwide were activating emergency protocols. But this wasn't panic. This was preparation. Jay Park allowed himself a slight smile. The aliens thought they were bringing war. They had no idea they were walking into a completely unexpected battlefield, one where human spirit wasn't just a concept, but a living, breathing force of nature. The invasion was beginning, and humanity was ready, not with fear, not with desperation, but with something far more powerful: determination. Would you like me to continue with the same storytelling approach for the subsequent parts? Part 2. Unexpected Resistance. Expanded Narrative. The coffee shop basement became Min-Ho Kim's unexpected command center. Dust-covered computer screens flickered to life, cobbled together from salvaged electronics and pure determination. Outside, the city streets echoed with a strange mix of panic and unexpected calm. Minho wasn't a soldier. Just weeks ago, he was struggling to complete his engineering thesis, dreaming about sustainable infrastructure. Now he was coordinating something far more critical: civilian survival. His first move was brilliant in its simplicity. Using old university communication networks, social media platforms, and emergency broadcast systems, he created a grassroots defense coordination system. Factory workers, taxi drivers, restaurant owners, everyone became a potential resource. In Seoul's industrial districts, welding shops transformed assembly lines into makeshift weapon production centers. Construction equipment became mobile defense platforms. Delivery trucks converted into communication relays. The aliens expected a traditional military response. Instead, they encountered a living, breathing urban ecosystem fighting back. "We're not waiting to be saved," Minho told a group of volunteers gathered in the dimly lit basement. "We're going to save ourselves." Local communities became the real front line. In apartment complexes, residents shared resources, created emergency communication chains, and developed innovative survival strategies. An elderly woman who once ran a small electronics repair shop now coordinated communication signals. A high school chemistry teacher developed improvised communication scrambling techniques. The alien invasion technology was advanced, but it relied on predictable patterns. Humans were anything but predictable. In shipping yards, crane operators used their equipment as makeshift anti-aircraft weapons. Farmers repurposed agricultural machinery into defensive platforms. Every profession, every skill became a potential weapon. Minho's network spread like wildfire. What started as a local communication system became a national, then global resistance mechanism. They shared real-time information about alien movement patterns, weapon weaknesses, and survival strategies. The most powerful weapon wasn't technology. It was human creativity. Agricultural regions became unexpected battlegrounds. Farmers used irrigation systems to create electromagnetic interference. Construction workers used their understanding of structural engineering to identify alien vessel weak points. Truck drivers became mobile intelligence units, mapping alien movement patterns. Young students became communication specialists. Programmers developed rapid response communication algorithms. Artists created psychological warfare materials designed to confuse alien tracking systems. Minho understood something fundamental. This wasn't just a military conflict. This was a complete societal transformation. Every person, regardless of age, profession, or background, became a critical component of resistance. Communication was key. They didn't just share information, they shared hope. Social media platforms, typically used for sharing memes and personal updates, became critical survival networks. People shared survival techniques, alien movement patterns, and most importantly, collective courage. The aliens had sophisticated scanning technologies, advanced weaponry, and mathematical invasion strategies. But they couldn't comprehend the human ability to adapt, to transform, to resist. Minho's basement command center was more than a communication hub. It was a symbol of human resilience. Old computers, jury-rigged communication systems, and pure human determination were becoming humanity's most powerful defense mechanism. "We're not just surviving," Minho would often say. "We're proving something to ourselves and to them." As alien ships continued their systematic invasion, they encountered something they never anticipated: a population that refused to be conquered. Not through traditional military might, but through collective creativity, resilience, and an unbreakable human spirit. The resistance had begun, and it looked nothing like what the aliens had expected. Would you like me to continue with the same storytelling approach for the subsequent parts? Part 3. Technological Leap, Expanded Narrative. The underground research facility wasn't what anyone would imagine. It wasn't a sleek, high-tech laboratory, but a converted subway station beneath Seoul's bustling streets. Exposed pipes ran along concrete walls, and old subway maps still hung. Crookedly, remnants of a world that seemed to exist years ago. Xiong Li hadn't slept in days. His eyes were bloodshot, hands shaking slightly from too much instant coffee and pure adrenaline. Around him, a team of scientists, engineers, and researchers worked with the intensity that defied human limitations. They weren't just fighting an alien invasion. They were rewriting the fundamental understanding of physics, technology, and human potential. The first breakthrough came from an unexpected source. G1, a young electrical engineer who had previously worked on smartphone battery technologies, discovered a method to create quantum-level energy absorption systems using modified smartphone components. What seemed like a crazy idea became their first real hope. "We're not going to beat them with what we know," Seung would tell his team. "We're going to beat them with what we can imagine." Their workspace looked like controlled chaos. Broken satellite dishes sat next to experimental quantum processors. Old computer servers were cannibalized and rebuilt into something entirely new. Coffee mugs balanced precariously next to complex mathematical equations that covered entire wall sections. The alien weapon signatures were sophisticated, energy patterns that could instantly vaporize traditional defensive systems. But humans had something the aliens didn't understand: the ability to learn and adapt at an unprecedented speed. Seung's team began mapping alien weapon frequencies. They weren't just analyzing the technology, they were understanding its fundamental language. Each scan, each data point became a piece of a massive puzzle. Young researchers who had been working on theoretical physics suddenly found themselves at the front line of human survival. A graduate student's thesis on quantum entanglement became a potential shield against alien weaponry. A retired engineer's experimental energy redirection theory transformed into a potential defensive mechanism. The breakthrough came during their 72nd consecutive hour of research. Using a combination of quantum mechanics, modified semiconductor technologies, and pure human creativity, they developed an adaptive shielding system that could not just block alien weapons, but actually redirect their energy. It wasn't just technology, it was a statement. Humans weren't just going to survive, they were going to fight back. The first successful test happened in a small laboratory section. A miniature version of their shield absorbed an intense energy pulse, not just blocking it, but transforming that destructive energy into a usable power source. "We're turning their weapons into our fuel," Seung told his team, a rare smile breaking. Through his exhausted expression, word spread quickly through their underground network. What started as a small research team became a global collaboration. Scientists from different continents shared data, modified designs, and pushed the boundaries of what was possible. They weren't just developing a defense mechanism, they were rewriting the rules of technological engagement. Manufacturing facilities began rapidly producing these adaptive shields. What would have taken years in normal circumstances was now being accomplished in weeks. Car factories, electronics plants, even textile manufacturers were converted into shield production centers. The aliens had advanced technology, but humans had something far more powerful: collective human creativity, the ability to learn rapidly, and an unbreakable spirit of survival. Seung Lee knew they weren't just fighting an invasion. They were proving something fundamental about human potential. As alien ships continued their systematic assault, they were about to encounter a species that refused to be conquered, a species that could turn their own weapons against them. Mat. Psychological warfare. Expanded narrative. The old television studio looked nothing like a war room. Exposed brick walls, vintage broadcasting equipment, and walls covered with global communication maps created an unlikely command center. Hyun Choi sat in the middle, surrounded by a team that looked more like a creative collective than a military strategy group. "They understand technology," Hyun told his team, "but they'll never understand human emotion." Their weapon wasn't a gun or a shield. It was something far more powerful: human culture, creativity, and an inexplicable ability to find humor in the darkest moments. The first psychological attack was brilliantly simple. They began broadcasting everything that made humans unique: old music videos, comedy sketches, random street performances, children's laughter, cooking shows, a chaotic, beautiful representation of human existence. The alien communication systems, designed for pure information processing, couldn't comprehend the emotional complexity of human broadcasts. What seemed like random noise was actually a sophisticated psychological strategy. In one remarkable moment, a street performer's viral dance video was transmitted across alien communication frequencies. The complex rhythmic movements, completely illogical from a mathematical perspective, created significant interference in alien tracking systems. Local radio stations became unexpected weapons. A morning show host in Busan started broadcasting random sound patterns mixed with traditional music. An underground music producer in Tokyo created algorithmic sound waves designed to disrupt alien communication protocols. Hyun's team discovered something profound. Humans communicated beyond mere information. Emotions, humor, random creativity were weapons the aliens couldn't predict or understand. Social media transformed into a global resistance platform. People started sharing survival stories, creating memes about the invasion, and developing collective resistance narratives. What looked like chaos was actually a sophisticated communication network. Artists became frontline psychological warriors. Painters created visual disruption patterns. Musicians developed sound frequencies that interfered with alien scanning technologies. Comedians broadcasted stand-up routines that confused alien communication algorithms. They weren't just resisting. They were demonstrating the beautiful, chaotic nature of human existence. A group of university students developed a global communication game. Each transmission contained multiple layers of meaning, survival information hidden within cultural references, comedy sketches that contain tactical data, music videos embedded with communication codes. The aliens' systematic approach began to falter. Their invasion protocols, built on mathematical precision, couldn't process human unpredictability. Hyun understood that their greatest strength wasn't technological. It was their ability to transform every moment of human experience into a potential weapon of resistance. Local communities became psychological warfare centers. A neighborhood watch group in Seoul started creating elaborate communication networks using traditional communication methods. An elderly community center became a hub for developing creative resistance strategies. What the aliens saw as weakness, human emotional complexity, our ability to find joy in difficult moments, our tendency towards random creativity, became our most powerful defense mechanism. They broadcasted everything that made humans unique. Children's laughter mixed with scientific data, music intertwined with survival strategies, cultural performances became communication networks. The invasion wasn't just being fought with technology, it was being challenged by the fundamental unpredictability of human spirit. Hyun looked at his team, a mix of artists, scientists, communication experts, and pure dreamers. They weren't just defending Earth, they were proving something fundamental about human potential. The psychological warfare had begun, and the aliens were about to learn that humanity was nothing like they had calculated. Would you like me to continue with the same storytelling approach for the final part? Part 5, Galactic Reputation, Expanded Narrative, The Negotiation Chamber, was unlike anything in diplomatic history. Suspended in a neutral space between Earth's atmosphere and the vast darkness of space, it felt like a moment suspended between destruction and possibility. Tai Quan wasn't a typical diplomat. He was a former debate champion, a university professor who had spent years studying intercultural communication. Nothing in his academic career could have prepared him for this moment, standing before the alien commander who had attempted to destroy humanity. The alien commander, a towering crystalline being named Vextor, looked more like a complex mathematical equation than a living creature. Its body shifted and changed, reflecting intricate energy patterns that represented centuries of galactic conquest. You were supposed to be another civilization to be catalogued, Vextor's communication translated. Not a resistance. Tay smiled. Not a diplomatic smile, but a genuine human expression of complexity that the alien couldn't comprehend. We're not just a civilization, Tay responded. We're a living, breathing ecosystem of potential. Behind Tay, a holographic representation showed humanity's journey. Not a military timeline, but a complex narrative of human evolution. cave paintings transformed into technological innovations. Ancient trade routes became global communication networks. Survival stories intermixed with artistic achievements. The alien delegation realized they weren't facing a defeated species. They were confronting a civilization that transformed challenges into opportunities. Tai brought something unexpected to the negotiation: human context. He didn't just present military statistics. He shared stories of human resilience. A farmer who developed innovative irrigation techniques. A child who created a communication device from broken electronics. A community that survived impossible circumstances. Each story was a weapon more powerful than any technological defense. The negotiation wasn't about surrender. It was about demonstrating humanity's fundamental nature: adaptable, creative, unpredictable. Vectors. Communication systems struggled to process the complexity. Humans didn't respond like any civilization they had encountered. Mathematical invasion protocols collapsed against human creativity. "You calculated our destruction," Tay said quietly, "but you never understood our spirit." The holographic displays showed something remarkable. While the aliens planned systematic destruction, humans were simultaneously fighting, creating, loving, and dreaming. Scientific laboratories existed, alongside art studios. Military defense networks communicated with music festivals. Humanity wasn't a single-purpose civilization. We were a complex, beautiful chaos. The alien delegation realized they had encountered something unprecedented. A species that didn't just survive, but transformed survival into an art form. Tay presented not a surrender, but a proposition. Humanity wasn't asking for mercy. We were offering a different perspective of existence. The negotiation wasn't just about this moment. It was about establishing humanity's reputation in the galactic community. We weren't just survivors. We were potential. As the crystalline alien commander processed the complex human narrative, something shifted in the communication frequencies. What began as an invasion was transforming into a first contact scenario. Humanity had done the impossible. We turned certain destruction into an opportunity for understanding. Taekwon stood not just as a diplomat, but as a representative of human potential. His presence was a message to the universe. We are here, we are complex, and we are impossible. To define, the galactic reputation was being written, and humanity was authoring its own incredible story. Would you like me to refine or adjust any part of the narrative? The technological leap had begun. Would you like me to continue with the same storytelling approach for the subsequent parts?